At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Friday Night Debate. Of course, this is the last Friday Night Debate in the year 2023. My name is Dennis Jah, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In this final edition of Friday Night Debate, we're going to be looking at just two issues. Number one, we'll look at the political implications, or I'd like to put it this way, the nomination of Councillor Frank Musa Dean, and I'm not really sure about whether Samora Wolokollie has already been nominated, but we'll say the potential nomination of Samora Wolokollie. Will these two nominations hurt or help Mr. George Weah? That's President George Weah. That's the first issue we're going to talk about. And we've been debating all year. So many episodes. Tonight, you're going to make your closing argument for the year. On that note, let me welcome the unapologetic and unabashed seditious Mr. Jerome Gilman. He's also the host of On Point right here on Focus on Liberia. Mr. Gilman, welcome.
Thank you very much for being here, and happy holidays to you and all the panelists.
Thank you. Let me welcome Father Elijah B. Washington. He's a clinical pastoral educator. He's also here with us to debate. This is the final showdown for the year. Welcome, Father Washington.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a privilege to be on today again. As we begin this, so I'd like to express deepest condolences to the victim and the bereaved family. Disaster that happened in our country. I want to say to you, please know that we are praying for your peace and your comfort when you lose someone that you love so much. In their injury, you don't. So blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted.
Thank you. Let me also welcome the perfect manager, P. Maurice Krumah. Mr. Krumah works in the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration, which has transformed or become the Buakai administration. Welcome, Maurice. Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Dennis. Good to be here.
We also want to welcome Mr. J. Victor Nambwe. In America, they call him Mr. Nambi. Mr. Nambwe is a former UPP partisan who was leading CPP during the elections, but he's now back to full-fledged UPP. Welcome, Mr. Nambwe.
Hey, thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here.
Are you still outside the country?
I still am, yes.
All right. And Morris, I don't know, Elvis, I don't know what's going on with your connection, but if Morris, Elvis come back, we're going to join Mr. Morris. All right. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Tonight is the closing argument of all the debates that we've been having. If you have taken a position all through, you have said all kinds of different things. Tonight we're going to conclude. But before we get to that, let me welcome Mr. Elvis Morris, who is leading or a CDC sympathizer. Mr. Morris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Great. Our first topic tonight, first of all, let me say, thank you so much for spending the entire year with us. Either you were watching or you participated or you commented. We want to say thank you so much. Tonight is our final edition of Friday Night Debate for the year 2023. Victor, how have the 2023 been with you?
I'm sorry, was that for me, Dennis?
Yes, for you. I just wanted your quick comment on 2023 as we close the argument tonight.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. 2023 has been a year of, I guess, ups and downs. Politically, personally, I am grateful to God. It's been a good year for me. Politically, it's been up and down because I say this. Prior to the elections, as we all know here, I was rooting for Mr. Cummings and the CPP uh, for the presidency of Liberia, and that didn't happen. Uh, Now we have Vice President, former Vice President, and President-elect Joe Walker coming in. Um, I am kind of optimistic, even though my candidate is not the one who's going to the executive mansion, but I'm a little bit optimistic given what I'm observing and hearing the Baka people to be doing.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, so for that reason, it's an upside for me, and I'm very excited about it.
Thank you. Mr. Gilman, your
Yes, sir.
opening for 2023 as we close the debate for 2023.
Well, 2023 has been a very good year for me personally, financially, family-wise. And I think it has been good for Liberia, our political dispensation. We have agreed to disagree. We have been at each other's throat, with the exception of the violence perpetrated by the Unity Party on a few of our partisans that lost their lives. Democracy is alive and well in Liberia. And I think this is what we have thrived for, we have all fought for. So I'm optimistic that the trend is going to continue.
Thank you. Father Washington.
Well, 2023 gives me two feelings. The feeling of excitement and the feeling of apprehension. I'm excited that our people made a political decision in our country. That they think that it was something change, and they were excited about their decision. So that's something I think that brought me about excitement. Elections, quote unquote, was relatively peaceful, and people made a decision. My apprehension is what I'm always beginning to see, and I think that's something I'm going to talk about as we go along, because I was one person who knew that fundamentally I wouldn't see anything changing from what we as government to the present one. So I can already begin to see signs that what I said in the past will be one. So that's a bit of attention already.
Thank you. Just adjust your connection there. We're having some little trouble hearing you. Let me go to Mr. Kroman. Your opening.
Yeah, thank you again, Dennis, for having me, and it's good to be here. These great men of our country. I think this year has been very. It's been personally for me. It's been a very successful year for me. I must be grateful to the Almighty. I think a lot of great things happened for me this year, personally. For our country, I think also a lot of good things happened for our country. We had several elections happening in the country. Besides the presidential elections, several elections happened, and relatively they were, peaceful. People have been able to express their opinions about their different political ideas without intimidation. Unfortunately, the presidential election had its own drama, and we saw, some people lose their lives. But overall, I think we're making some progress. This democracy is always a test in time. Even the U.S. is struggling with defining what it means when they say democracy. So we are not immune to some of the things that are happening. I think, we'll make progress as a country. We'll continue to tolerate each other. At some point, we'll understand that, each of us will take our sides, and it will be okay for that. I think this year was great.
Thank you. Mr. Morris.
Thank you. I think the year as a whole was kind of a mixed bag for me. The one thing I want to show a spotlight on, since this is about Liberia and we're focusing on Liberia, I think this network has been something of a shiny star for most of us who follow Liberian politics, because looking at from the beginning of the year to the end of the year now, this network has grown. You know, the amount of shows, the amount of contributors on the platform. I think it has attracted a lot of serious-minded people who are not looking for quote unquote chichipolit, talk. We have serious-minded people who are intellectuals. So for me, who has been following this network for a long time, seeing the caliber of people that have joined the network, the kind of discussions that have been held, has been kind of a highlight for me. And then also when it comes to Liberia, in terms of what happened in our country, all the talks from the beginning of the year to where we are now, had we not had a peaceful election and we have violence and chaos, it would have all been for naught. So I think the fact that we had a successful election and we hope to have a successful turnover of power overall will be a successful year for us as a country. Since this is a platform that's focused on Liberia, I'm going to put my focus on that part of it, which is Liberia. And I think for us as a country, democratically has been a successful year. In other aspect, of governance has been kind of mixed, but overall, I think we're transitioning into a true democratic nation, and I'm looking forward for 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonglo.
Well, thank you, Dennis. I'm happy to be back here again because I'm not a regular participant here. But happy to share this panel tonight with these brothers from Liberia, these scholars and great men. But I tend to differ a little bit from all of my colleagues about this. Personally, we can say once you have live, we can say this year has been a great year. I mean, once you are living, regardless of your socioeconomic status, you must be grateful to God for keeping you alive. We can talk about having a peaceful transition and what have you. But if you look back in our history, if you look from 1847 to this point, if you look at the different news report from Liberia, I mean, the number of deaths occurring in hospitals, in the communities, accidents, and what have you. And if you think of how far we started from 1847, and you look across our neighboring countries, the progress they've made, I don't think there's anything we can be so happy about, Liberia being great ready. We should still be feeling sad that our education system, we still debating whether it's a yes, it's not. Our healthcare, we still debating where, we say all of the worst things about Liberia. Look by a country of 175 years old. Our officials and those who can afford in the business community that are flying to Ghana, to Nigeria, to neighboring country. There are people leaving Liberia go to Sierra Leone for master's degree in agronomy, in agriculture. So I think when we look at the problems confronting the myriad of problems confronting Liberia and how our leadership, our country has failed to address these problems over the years, I can say 2023 has not been a great year for Liberia, collectively. Yes, we have a peaceful election. We're going to have a democratic transition. But if you look back collectively, I would say it has not been a great year. I'm still waiting for that great year to come for Liberia, actually.
Thank you. But all the things you've named, are they unique to 2023? Was 2023?
No, so they are not unique. So that's how this country started. We're not making progress. So now we look back, we say, in fact, one big brother said to me, Anthony Kessler, he said, Liberia is the only country on earth that will always reference the past as being the best, not the future. I mean, we can say, oh, our education system in the 70s was the best. But with all the advancement in technology and everything, we should be saying, oh, we are giving the best to our kids now, which is not the case. Sadly, we should be saying our healthcare is the best now, which is not the case. So I would say 2023 collectively was not a great year for Liberia, just like 2022 and many years by.
Thank you. So our first topic tonight, and tonight we're going to be closing the argument for the year. We've been debating, right? But before we get to that, let's look at we read in the news that President Weah has accepted, and I like how they put it. So President Weah has accepted the President George Manuel Weah has received and granted a request from Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia, His Honor Joseph M. Nambwe, for an early retirement due to ill health. And that same report said he has nominated his Justice Minister, Frank Musa Dean, to be the Associate Justice, replacing Justice Nambwe on the Supreme Court bench. At the same time, this I've not confirmed before the show that he has also nominated Samora Wolokollie to replace the fallen LRA boss, Mr. Dona, right? So those are the two, and this is happening maybe in less than a month to inauguration. Let me start with Mr. Caleb Gonglo. You closest, so you start this one. I'm saying the two nominations, and tomorrow I'm bringing lawyers to debate, what the law say concerning replacing the Associate Justice, and looking at the act that created the LRA, what's the succession clause and all that. For tonight, I'm looking at the politics of it. Will these two nominations hurt or help President Weah and his political career?
Dennis, I don't know the frame of the question. When you say whether it will hurt or what?
All right. So this is the background, right? President Weah closed on a hard note when he when he called President-elect Bouaka and congratulated him. And people were saying, oh, yes, he's ready to turn the leaf. And people were even saying this man may even win the Mo Ibrahim Prize, right? So, but in his concession, he said he's coming back 2029. So people look at these things as laying the groundwork for 2029. If he succeeds in replacing both men, that will be a win for him. If those are rejected, that's going to be something that don't work out well for him, right? So how will it play politically for him?
Well, Dennis, first of all, let me just clarify this because the foundation of the question may have some misinformation. Friend Musa Ding is in the 60s. I think he's either 65 or 66. Our constitution, if we reach 70 years, you retire as on the Supreme Court bench. So before 2029, Friend Musa Ding will not be on the Supreme Court. So it will not benefit President Weah if that were the case. Okay? Samora Wolokollie, I think a turn on that LRA, I know it's a turning position, but it could be probably 5 years or so. So if he's nominated now, maybe before 2029, he may not even be on IRA. Be the incumbent President Bouaka at that time to decide whether to re-nominate him or not. Okay, so those two nominations, given the foundation you lay, if that were the basis for the motivation for President Weah to do, then it will not benefit in 2029. But 2029, both men will be out of the positions. Okay.
So there are other things that will happen before 2029.
So let's get that out of the way in the first place. But if you read our constitution, if you go in Article 54, Article 54 does not give a limit on the powers of the president. Article 54 is very clear that the president shall nominate and with the consent of the Senate appoint the following position, including commissioners. And that power has no limitation as to whether you have 1 day to be in executive mansion or 2 days. It's a sweeping power. Okay, so for me personally, President Weah has a constitutional mandate to govern, and he's still governing until he officially hands the gavel over to President-elect Joseph Bouaka. So even on like 2 days to the end of his term, if Liberia is under threat, President Weah has a constitutional mandate to declare war. He will do it. He's not going to say, well, I'm leaving in 2 days. I'll wait for the next person to declare war. So for me, it's not even, it's just totally out of debate. It can be President Bouaka. It can be, look.
Mr. Gongo, let me eject.
Let me ask
you. Because it's not a constitutional question. The question of the basis is not whether he has the constitutional right to do so or not. But whatever constitutional power you have can also hurt or help you politically.
But how is nominating someone on the Supreme Court bench gonna hate someone?
Okay.
I mean, you tell me.
No, just tell me it doesn't. It wouldn't have.
It doesn't hurt because
Okay.
I mean he's not doing something extra constitutional. It's not against the Constitution to say he's acting against the Constitution. If he's committing an act against the Constitution, I will be among those that will be criticizing.
Thank you.
But that act of nomination is consistent with Article 54. That's my argument.
That's fair point.
And to even add this point to it, on September 7, 2017, September 7, 2017, we debated on this platform at one point. Honor UP, the $59 million loan was entered into by the United Party government. That was less than 3 weeks to election that would have seen you then out of power or not. That agreement is there, $59 million. I'm aware of the processes that went there because I was sitting down right there at PVCC when Judy Morgan were trying to shuttle out the paper and settle the different procurement issues, right? But I also supported that fact that they have a constitutional power. Whether they are going to be leaving power in one day or what, they could sign even $100 million agreement.
Thank you. So you understand the basis of the question now, right? Because if you have 3 days and you sign a $59 million collaborative question, let me go to Mr. Krumah. Morris.
No, Unity Party did it before. I support it.
Yeah.
So Dennis, this conversation to me is very interesting. I think the more we make the conversation about whether you are in opposition or support the government or not support the government, it draws this dichotomy of us versus them, which makes the conversation difficult. But when we look at it holistically from a policy point, then we can start to delve into what does this mean for our country. Because regardless of the political identity any of us wear, the question should be, what does this mean for Liberia as a country? If President Weah appoints Frank Musa Dean, who has been his justice minister for the lifetime of the administration, onto the Supreme Court, what does that mean for the country today and what it means for the future leaders that are coming in the country 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years from now, that they can use this precedence to continue to make those decisions in the interest of themselves. Now, let me give you some example of the point I'm trying to make here. President Weah, just a few days before he made the appointment, he issued an executive order saying we put in a freeze on all employment within the government, which is actually a good policy decision. Because, when you don't do that, you're creating more burden for future leaders of the country. You bloat the payroll. People are exploiting this thing. They knock her head, and her deputy have paid themselves, lucrative amount of money just because they are leaving power. $200,000, $150,000, and say, okay, we're leaving. This is our severance pay, and we're walking away. But it hurts the country more than it hurts Weah or it hurts anybody that is in the current administration. It hurts the country more. It doesn't hurt Joseph Boakai or the new ministers that are coming. It hurts the young people that are coming in. The other part that I want to point out is that we have the constitutional authority, just like Calebo have said. But we can't make this thing about constitutional authorities. That there are times that the president has the power, but you look at the expediency. We remember 2017 election when Unity Party, Liberty Party, all these political ANC went to the court and said they were, questioning the result of the election because there was some kind of cheating, and the court ruled that even though there were evidence of fraud, but for the expediency of the state, they wanted the election process to continue. So they agreed that yes, there was fraud in the election. You can have the power and use that power and hold on to the power because of the protection of the state. So if we are in all his constitutional authority, say, well, okay, Joseph Nangwe's sick, he's retiring, and at this point, let me hold on to this decision let these future leaders make the decision on this process. When President Salif brought, new money in the country, that new money was not even moved from Freeport into the central bank. They turned that money over, and it's all the processes over to the new WIA administration out of expediency. Otherwise, they could have done it. They could have moved all that transaction away. But I'm giving these examples to point out that you can have political authority and still say, okay, for the sake of the state, I'm going to move it. I'm going to take this other decision the way that I take it. Why is he choosing Musa Dean to be replacement for Joseph Langwe? Why Musa Dean? Why nobody else besides Musa Dean, who has been justice minister for 6 years? Is he hiding something? Is something under it that we don't know about? So all of these questions, we need to start to ask questions about it and the policy implications of what WIA decision is. That that would be my point.
Thank you. Others, throughout the year, there were questions about the WIA cabinet and its appointment and all that. What do you make of these two new appointments, especially to the Supreme Court, when you take your justice minister, and I also said before, when I was asking Calabo, is because WIA was being hailed for his concession. Now, do this appointment appear to you like he's trying to hide something or cover some tracks here?
Absolutely not. He's well within his rights to make these appointments. These are extenuating circumstances that's well outside of the control of the president. And let me elaborate. First of all, you had a person from a tenure position who died.
Right.
So that's, that wasn't something that the president can put a freeze on. It was not foreseen that perhaps this man would have died. Mm-hmm. Second of all, the position of a justice, especially when you're talking about a president in terms of politics, is going to shape the nation in the ideology of that person. Now, we say we don't have ideologies in Liberia, but the president wants to see that the court reflects his political beliefs sometimes, or the path he wants the country to, the direction he wants the country to go in. And it's one of the most awesome, authorities you have as a president is appointing a Supreme Court justice. So losing in America, we know how people fight over justices. Losing the ability to appoint a justice, and leave it for somebody else as a gift is not something that the president wants to do, because he still sees that he has a political future in Liberia. There may be laws and things that may be contested that he wants to go in his favor if it goes to the Supreme Court, because the justices may reflect his mind. So the point here is Musa Dean the right person for me? I say no. Musa Dean is not the right person. Like I said before, I would like to see somebody like a Gongolo or maybe even an Archibald Bernard, being nominated to the court. But usually you have prosecutors who gets nominated for the justices, because they're people who understand the state, who have served the state, and I've a prosecutor for the state. Musa Dean, for all of my understanding, has been a private lawyer for the longest. In private practice, he's not somebody that worked, quote unquote, for the government as a prosecutor. So I don't think he's the right person. And second of all, he hasn't done a great job, especially when it comes to the police, overseeing the police and investigations in mysterious deaths. I don't think he's done a good job. So I think he's the wrong man for that position. But if you're going to lose a Justice Nambwe, who has been a strong ally of this president, and somebody who comes from his home county, the president wants to leave his stamp on the Supreme Court. Donald Trump, of all the incompetence, we say he was incompetent, he was this, he was that. He appointed the most Supreme Court justices in American contemporary history, and it's been consequential. We've seen some of the rulings that's come from the Supreme Court of, quote unquote, Donald Trump. So the president wants to have that position and give it to somebody who he thinks reflects his thinking and who may be in his interest when court cases goes to the Supreme Court. What do you say? Oh, the judiciary should be independent of the executive. Fine, but we know, we know how these things work.
Yeah.
When it comes to the last thing, quickly before I get off the stage.
Before you continue, Joseph Nambwe is from Sino and WIA is from.
Oh, sorry, he's from Sino. But yeah, somebody who's from his neck of the woods, so to speak. So yeah. So if you're looking at Wolokollie, I think also he's unqualified. I don't think he did a good job as a deputy to Samuel Toy. I think, for him, one of the most I don't like Spoon TV, but I think one of the most exposing they ever did was to Samora Wolokollie. I think he was almost in tears when Spoon, thinking about it now, it's kind of ironic, but he really, really got him in a gotcha interview where they told him about the company that he was using to do work with the government, and he couldn't defend himself. So obviously, in public, he similarly is corrupt. He hasn't been convicted, but for my liking, he's wholly, wholly unqualified to hold that position, especially collecting the country's revenue. That's a very, very sensitive position. And if Joseph Boyka was smart, if George we had leave that position open, Joseph Boyka should, maybe put Molu there, who seems to be an uptight, righteous kind of person. That's the kind of person we need for that position, not somebody who is unscrupulous like Samara Wolokollie. Definitely not.
But Evan, what do you think is driving these decisions?
I think
these kind of people.
I think for the president, it's like the best two people left who are unsanctioned, who are unsanctioned, who are not sanctioned. Samuel Toy was the brainchild for this, the president inner circle. He's been sanctioned. His political future in Liberia is almost definitely done. Musa Dean, with all his incompetencies when it comes to, helping the police, is a brilliant lawyer, very, very smart man. So I think the president looks at him as somebody he can use in the future, somebody who will be an ally to him, and a very, very smart ally. Samora Wolokollie, he's like an evil genius. He's a very smart guy, but he's deeply corrupt. So those two people are maybe two of the smartest people around the president, and they have lobbied him to give them some tenure position to quote unquote protect him in case he may need that protection in the future. And I think the president is making the wrong choice of individuals, but he has the right to appoint to those positions because they are sensitive positions that may benefit him in the future. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Mr. Washington.
Mr. John, thank you. I'd like to tour what the Elvis and Kroman said. These are selling things. I'd like to just tour the path of Mr. Kroman a little bit when it comes to where he talks about expedience. So I think that's the line I'm going to tour when it comes to political expedience, political prudence. Because, like Mr. Gonglo said, he has the constitutional right to make these appointments, and then when is his decision unethical? Because if you want to take it from the ethical perspective, it has three dimensions have to be taken into play: the act, the circumstances, and the intention. Are we going to question his intention? I see that's something. That's the line I see evidence. So touring. That's something you can want to go. You can try to go that route. I'm not going to go that route because I don't know his intention. It's difficult to be able to know what his intention are. But I'll look at it in terms of political expediency and prudence. Is it prudent at this time? Is it political expedient at this time to be able to appoint somebody like Musa Dean as an associate justice? Because the question that we'll be asking ourselves, what is his integrity level? To what extent can he be trusted to render impartial justice as an associate justice? So these are the fundamental questions we're going to be asking. When you put it on the bench, then we start sending signal to us. So for me, I don't think it's expedient and prudent at this time to appoint somebody who has worked, as a justice minister under you for these 6 years on the associate president. I think that's where my situation, my qualm is. That's where I have an opposition. Based on the fact that he comes from the government, he has worked for this president for many years.
Thank you. The honor by sedition. Let me first welcome the only lady on the show tonight. That's Chito Glendy. Welcome, Glendy.
Thanks, Dennis. It's good to be here.
I just hope she's not leaving soon to us.
Mr. Gonglo, I know you missed me.
He does.
He was performing national duty somewhere else, so she's back.
Yes.
Thanks for coming. Mr. Gaiman, what do you make of those two nominations? You never used to stutter. What happened?
The reason I'm stuttering is that I am in shock.
It's always a shock.
First of all, I usually do not agree with Milton Tiaje, but when I look at his letter, the second item on that letter says, for a justice to be nominated, there has to be a vacancy. And as far as he is concerned, there has not been any public notice or legal notice that says that Justice Namwe has officially resigned the court and that there is a vacancy. So in that, he is saying there is some legal issue that needs to be addressed. If not, then we will be confirming a justice that will be justice number 6. So me being very skeptical, I looked at it and there's a lot of logic in what he's saying.
Yeah.
As far as we are concerned, Justice Namwe
I disagree with him though, but go ahead.
Yes, Justice Namwe have not officially resigned because the court have not announced that there is a vacancy. And here we are, in the absence of that, we are looking for a replacement. If that doesn't happen, we will have 6 justices. So what I'm saying here as a sedition, this is unscrupulous. Are we saying we are hanging this confirmation out there? If he's confirmed, then we slide Justice Namwe out of the way and slide him there. Or are we going to say, listen, there is a leak of vacancy here and the world knows, and then we'll go for confirmation. If we're done, then Joseph Walker fills that seat. But as I know in the United States, everybody wants a court of their own. You will hear this was justice, this person's court, that person's court. So George Weah wants to have a legacy of a Weah court. And in that, it is a court that has the most justices appointed by President Weah. So we are looking at 2 different styles here, but I'm a little baffled about Justice Namwe. If he's that sick that he has to resign, why didn't he resign? And then a vacancy is announced. Bingo. But that happened. There's a smoke. It's not. There's no clarity.
I think German needs. Hold on, Calabo. Mr. German, if the justice resigned, I mean, he was appointed by the president. He resigned. You send the president a letter say I resign. I don't agree with TJ, and I don't trust him as my senator.
You're a former senator.
A very strange letter. Even at the end of the letter, he said, "Oh, because you come from Sino, I come from Sino." Come on, TJ. If the mayor had come from Bowman, you wouldn't write. So, if Mr. TJ, if the justice resign, he resigns. I mean, should it be? How does Mr. TJ want the justice to resign? He quoted a lot of articles, but none of them related to the process of resignation. He was talking about
Mr. John, 10 seconds, please. I had this point, but I missed it in my presentation.
Okay.
10 seconds, please. This letter from the associate justice is an act of the president, because the key thing we're missing here is early retirement. When you're asking for early retirement, you're asking for your pension, your full pension, if the president grants it. So the president have the right to reject this letter and say, no, you're not going to be resigning, So if he's asking for this, it's a favor from the president. That's why the letter said he approved it, because he could have he could have not have accepted the letter for early retirement. So that's the point that I think we're missing here, because it was a request and the president accepted it, meaning that if he retires now, he get his full pension for early retirement. He will be taken care of in retirement. I think that's the point we should.
I don't think the president has that right. Go ahead, Mr. Gonglo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to right to grant retirement benefits.
Because actually, I'm listening to Mr. Gilman. I mean, I have the Constitution right on the other side here. I'm looking at it, and the process for the associate justices or justices of the Supreme Court to resign, okay? So, or to even be declared incapable of performing.
Right.
There's something we're missing here. In Article 43 of our Constitution, if you look under there on the impeachment procedure by the House and the Senate, there is a clause that I say in Article 43. It says clearly that the legislature shall prescribe the procedure for impeachment proceeding and blah blah blah. The other thing they will give the legislature since the 1986 Constitution, the legislature has not prescribed any procedure by which an eternal position or the president or the associate justice could be, or anyone who has the attorney position or protector position could be declared, incapable of governing or performing the task for a vacancy to be declared. It's really subjective in this case. I listened to Justice Nangwe, Joseph Nangwe yesterday on Spoon interviewing. There are two led communications he's saying. One to the president, office of the president, and one to the chief justice, declaring that for 8 months he has been out of Liberia seeking medical treatment, and he can no longer hold the Supreme Court hostage. It's time for him to go, for them to find a replacement. It was very clear. They even interviewed him, a voice of cracking. I felt so sorry for him because that's somebody I know personally, that's somebody that I work with, and as a big brother. So I listened to it and I was touched by that. So I think the crux of the issue is not really whether he's sick or what have you. He has made it clear in the letter to Senayo or Chief Justice. He was very clear that I'm taking early retirement. I want you to inform the rest of it. I can't perform. I can't be with you. He basically resigned.
And the issue about retirement, that's maybe human resource or the HR to handle.
Benefits.
But right, it's benefit issue. But when it comes to practically, I think what he's doing is I'm resigning. I'm no more here, and you can force him to be there. So if he's no more there, the president has the right to appoint. Regarding his benefits, that's a constitutional matter, and I'm bringing the lawyers here tomorrow to talk about it. Let me go to Victor Nambi. Mr. Nambi.
Dennis, this matter is very confusing to me. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, Councillor Dean is a friend of mine. We both graduated from Tottenham School almost at the same time. We've both been pupils of the late Gabriel Bartos Matthews. I've known him for over 40 years. He's a very competent guy. He's a brilliant lawyer. And I think nothing best could have happened for the legal system in this country than to have someone like him appointed to the Supreme Court. I think his appointment, if he does succeed, will bring a lot of credibility to the court. And,
you're talking about Musa Dean or Namwe?
Councillor Dean.
Dean.
I'm talking about Councillor Dean.
I'll let the caveat pull in there before you talk about credibility.
Oh my God.
Can you? You are protected, Mr. Namwe.
I have no relationship to Councillor Namwe. I don't know him at all.
Oh, okay. I know him.
I was talking about
in the 10th grade, was teaching 12th grade.
I was talking about Councillor Dean. So yeah, he's a good man. He's a very competent man. But the problem is, the unfortunate timing of all this. It leaves a lot of suspicion in its wake. The president has issued, an order kind of freezing any new appointments and all of this. And then on the one hand, he goes ahead to appoint 2 people, almost about in the same week that this document came out. So then what are we supposed to make of this? Councillor Namwe has been sick for over 8 months. I wish this appointment had happened, probably even if it had happened 2 months earlier, even though, yes, he couldn't have forced Councillor Namwe to declare himself ready to retire or whatever it is. I understand that. And that's why I say it's unfortunate that, he had to wait for the council himself to declare himself unfit to serve. But on the eve of this president's departure, these are very consequential appointments. Appointment to the Supreme Court. It has the potential to alter the legal system in very, very several different ways. So I'm left really baffled and with a lot of mixed feelings. I like Councillor Dean. I like him to to ascend to the Supreme Court because I think he'll do well.
Oh, God.
But I think the timing really leaves a lot of questions, and it's very unfortunate.
Election has consequences, right? So he won. He has the political capital. Let him spend it. Let me go to Glendy.
I love my brother Victor, Mr. Namwe. I love him. but I am a bit perturbed by the fact that he thinks, yes, he knows Musa Dean. I know Musa Dean. Musa Dean is a family for me. But I am one of those who have made it my business to be out on record saying that he should not be allowed to ascend to that position only because of his immediate record as the justice minister. Because of that, I'm not saying he's not competent. He's competent as a lawyer, but not every good lawyer makes a good judge. My father was a lawyer. My father rose to the rank of Associate Justice of Liberia. And I know what kind of lawyer he was. And I know the cases that he adjudicated. And I know even as a judge in Grand Bassa County, I know what he did. Musa Dean doesn't compare. Coming straight off the back as a minister of justice with the different cases that we've had, unsolved mysteries. Most of his responses were only in paper, only letter. Tell me when last you heard the justice minister come out to do press conferences on issues. I would hope, and I was so excited today, regardless of whatever Senator Tiaje wrote in that letter, I agreed with his letter 100%. And tonight I can publicly say that I even share the sentiments of Jerome Gaiman tonight, because I think what he is saying, if it's coming from Tiaje, then it speaks a lot about the timing and what's going on right now. Why now? So I also listened to Spoon yesterday when my best friend, Mr. Gongola, talked about when they were talking to Justice Nangwe. He said he has not been able to come to the court for 8 months. But in the 8 months, he has been taking paid. He's been paid for that 8 months by the Republic of Liberia. So why now? Why at the last hour? On December 21st was when he wrote the letter asking for early retirement. December 26th, President Weah now has somebody already in line to replace him. How are those sequencing not concerning to some of us? What is going on? Why the rush? Why now? And why didn't he resign? Like Amy said, why didn't he resign a few months ago? Why didn't he do that? And also, what would replacing him now before the new government ascends? What would it do to the courts? How would it help the courts?
But those are just fundamental questions.
Where is it? Can you give me a chance, sir? I know you've missed me, but I'm going to speak. I'm sure you're not the one moderating the debate here tonight. And I am fired up and ready. So you can rest assured that the last few weeks that I've been off, I am prepared. And I'm so happy that I'm the only woman here and I will be heard. So let me just say,
don't play that woman card.
I'm just saying I'm going to play the fact that I'm the only woman here, so I will speak.
Right,
So
go ahead, Glendy. Everybody will speak.
And you are protected. Yeah, I got your back.
Thank
Don't worry,
you, my brother. Thank you.
Yeah, I got you.
I think the timing, Dennis, is wrong. I think the
So
timing.
Glendy, let's look at it this way.
Okay.
Will it matter the people that we have appointed? Let's say President Weah has appointed someone like Councillor Gonglo to the Supreme Court bench. He appointed maybe John Molu to LRA or Cummings to LRA. Will it be any different?
It would be for me. It would be for me because of the timing. And I'll be honest, it would matter for me because of timing. Especially also, I think Jerome mentioned the fact that he already issued a directive saying that there will be no hiring right now.
Was that directive? Was it in the church?
But that directive was
it was written. What do you mean in the church? There was documentation to that.
Right.
Justices are in the judiciary, is a different branch of government, not the executive, which the president does not have power over.
But even though he doesn't have power, he can recommend to the judiciary bench, and this is what he's done. What are you talking here? He doesn't have the power, but he wrote. And if he didn't have the power, and if the power was solely for him to do, then he would not have recommended to the judiciary branch. He would have done it if it was within his power. But because he needs him is why he's recommending.
Then I just for 10 seconds.
So that is because Glenny mentioned.
Hold on, Victor. Let me go ahead because presidents, when they have the political capital, they spend it. So whether there's 2 days, 3 days,
not necessarily. I mean, you almost implying since the show started that because the president has the power, he's supposed to be able to do whatever he wants to do.
So if he wants to spend it, he spend it.
No, so you are making the president an imperial president. This is the culture we have to discuss. Dennis, give me a chance. Just give me a chance. Let me get my point. Then you can come talk. That's fine. You know, I don't want us to argue so much. At least they can benefit from the conversation.
I can interrupt anytime. You know, in this debate, I'm
president cannot be an imperial president. We have to discourage our president from being imperial. So the president has some authority. But when that president say, you know, because I have the authority, so I can just do because I have the authority, I'm glad that at least we have another branch of government that can say, you know what, we're not going to have no confirmation hearing for this Musa Dean man or the hearsay, because I still don't have the evidence about Samora Wolokollie appointment, so I will not do much of that. But on the Musa Dean part, at least thank God we have the Senate. I can say, you know what, we're not listening to the thing here because the country is in transition. The real thing to do, I mean, just think about the founding fathers of the United States and how they lay out this framework that they have in this country. They were not thinking about themselves. They were thinking about the future leaders of the country. That 100 years from now, what would this America look like? Why are we always sitting around to feel that they have so much authority and they can just flex that muscle at any time? Every time we do that, we are creating leaders from among us here that we get into that same authority and say, oh, the Constitution says I got the right to do it, and so I will do it. We have to think about, we have to be selfless when we go into public office. When we go to public life, we have to be selfless and think about the future. It's not about us, it's about the people who are serving for the next 5-10 years. So we have to continue that culture.
Mr. Ja.
Thank you.
Mr. Ja,
let Victor come in before you, okay. And I will respond to tomorrow.
No, I wanted to point out a few things that my sister Glenn pointed out. First of all, I hear her say it wouldn't matter whoever was appointed. So that means that she is closing the door absolutely to this appointment.
Yes.
But then she's also saying that, because of Musa's immediate past record, he doesn't qualify for this position. I think these are two different things. But let me just say this. The Justice Minister, yes, is the chief prosecutor of the Republic of Liberia, but he's not the chief investigator. The director of the investigative agencies are all appointees of the president. He cannot fire them. So yes, there have been a lot of unsolved murders in Liberia. I get that and I understand that. That is responsibility of Musa Dean? I say no. But I'm saying to you that the Musa Dean that I know, that most of us know, is a very competent lawyer, and I think him coming on the Supreme Court bench would be a good thing for the country. And I maintain that.
Thank you. Mr. Gaiman.
Yes, I have to disagree with Kroma here and my sister here on this one. The president does have the right to appoint. The president works until January 22nd, 2024. We saw in our own case here, when Barack Obama was leaving office, he wanted to nominate someone, and the folks said, no, you don't have too much time. So we have Justice Garland was denied because, they put his nomination on hold permanently. And then as soon as when Trump was leaving, okay, just within the time he was leaving, the same time when they had a vacancy within the Supreme Court, he was able to bring in somebody, and they were able to ram that person through just before Trump left. So it's the same argument here. Those who want Boyka to have the power to appoint are saying the next month that President Weah is on the job, he should do absolutely nothing. Okay? He should just get paid and the work for the president just stop. No. He has the right to appoint, and he will work, and he should work, because we pay him up to the 22nd of January. He should work all the way through. So what I'm saying here is we should talk so legally. We have cases here in the United States that parallel exactly what we are talking about when President Weah was leaving. When Obama was leaving, and when Trump was leaving, the same folks that deny Garland are the same folks that were able to fast track.
Amy Barrett. I think her name is Justice Amy Barrett.
That's correct. So that's what I'm saying. The president, as much as I have problem with Musa Dean, I think he has the right to appoint whoever he wants. And the person does not even have to be a lawyer. Because in the United States, we have justices of the Supreme Court who are not lawyers,
Even
So,
Liberia. I said Liberia, we had a case too. But
there you go.
And Mr. Kroma, you're talking about imperial presidency. There's nothing imperial presidency about that. And that's why we have the separation of powers, right? So the Senate now can check him, just like they did to Barack Obama, and say, no, you can ram this through. We're going to reject it, right? So you have politicians, the president and all these people are politicians. They will always do something that will favor, that will give them, the leverage. I think the problem here is the people that he's nominating.
Yes.
So, Mr. Gonglo, let me ask you this final question, and then we can move on. Is the Senate? This thing going to come to the Senate. Do you see it going through? You're muted. You can unmute yourself, please. Mr. Gonglo, really? Unmute yourself.
I may pay attention to something else.
All right. Father Washington.
Yeah.
Let's come to the Senate. Do you see this going through?
That's a good question. I was thinking about it, but the fact that it's been put in committee room, I'm afraid it might not come out of that room until the transition is over. So that's where I'm a little bit skeptical. First, when it first arrived in the Senate, I thought he had already done his groundwork. He has already talked to the senators that he wanted for the team to pass. But the fact that the senators have to move it into committee rooms, they didn't give a fixed time that can come out of committee room. That suggests to me it might just be there until the transition is over.
Thank you. Mr. Gonglo, are you there now?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Mr. Gonglo, and I started with you. So if this fails, if President Weah doesn't have his way, let's say if it is blocked, how do you think that's going to impact him? If it doesn't go through?
In our part of the world, in Liberia, it's difficult to look at trend. I mean, I think we'll make decision on the moment. So this possibly could fail. He could fail to get the two vacancies, filled with competent people. But it doesn't mean when Bouaka is leaving office, maybe after 6 years or after 2 terms, it doesn't mean even on 2 weeks to his departure, he can, fill vacancy. It just depends on the political climate in the country. We could do it. So, but from what I'm saying here, because for me, I'm not a fan of Musa Ding, because Musa Ding is a corporate lawyer. And for me, I don't like corporate lawyers. That's just it. I don't like corporate lawyers.
Why you don't like corporate lawyers?
I don't love people who love wealth. I mean, people who want to get more than others, I just don't like them. So,
that's not a description of corporate lawyers.
So corporate lawyers go there because
interpretation.
Oh, no. When you choose, I can speak for my brother. Like Councilor Gong will offer $10,000 retainer fee contract by Lone Star Corporation, and he said no. I've been defending workers at Lone Star Fire every month at the labor court. If I take this contract, I will be defending Lone Star against these workers. That goes against my conscience. He turned it down. So I love people like that who will say, well, I want to defend those who don't have the means to defend themselves than those who just go for money to be, the man is a corporate lawyer. So it's difficult for me. I don't want to say I should say I pray say it should fail, but I'm just defending the constitutionality and the culture we should, just as we are defending and clapping for a peaceful democratic transition, we should also say that yes, Liberians respect the Constitution. Once the person has power, the person has that authority to appoint within in line with the Constitution. And I think we should defend that. This whole thing about Morris talking about, Glenn is talking about, it's sentimental. Look, imperial presidency.
I got an enter, Glenn. I know.
Imperial presidency does not mean that when you exercise the power given to you in the Constitution. That's not what it means.
Right.
Presidency has far-reaching interpretation on that. You know, so for example, the Constitution says the president will appoint district commissioners that she or he will never see throughout the administration. But so what presidents do is you ask local government, superintendents, you working with this commissioner, you bring in nomination names to me and I will nominate them. I will never see these people. Okay? That's what you're talking about. The president is now imperial president because they waiving some of the rights they have.
No, and those powers will be checked. But thank you. I want us to move on to our next topic tonight.
I must add this. Samora Wolokollie, I listened to that interview on Spoon. And Samora Wolokollie is a very competent person. and I think if he's nominated, he should take it.
Really, Mr. Gonglo? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Thank you. That's his opinion. Let's move on to our next step. We've been debating issues here throughout the night, throughout the year. Tonight, we're going to close the argument. I know all of you have had your position, and I can really, on top of my head, I can quote, for instance, Mr. Gaiman. So let me start with Mr. Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman, you have pushed certain lines throughout the year. Let me see whether you still stand by those. What's your closing argument for the year?
Well, the closing argument is that the opposition were very successful in lowering even some of the most qualified people in the country. They were incompetence have been thrown around in Liberia for anybody who you disagree with, you say they are incompetent. Even if the person has 5 PhDs, they are incompetent. Even if they have 5 PhDs, but have never worked a day with no managerial experience, we say they are competent. Oh, his credential makes him competent. So it brings me to one of the gentlemen that I believe to be one of the most brilliant people that we have ever had in Liberia, Samuel Tuwe. Brilliant. Let's look at the Republic of Liberia when the weird government came into power. Inflation was 30%, and today, according to the World Bank, our inflation is 7.6%, now from 30% to 7.6%. On a Samuel Tuwe, the MCC scorecard indicates that Liberia have passed the MCC scorecard. We're talking about we scored 14, the highest we have ever had, I think, in the history of the MCC. We are talking about the gentleman that have won several awards from the IMF, from the EU, from ECOWAS. We talk about inflation. We talk about monetary policy. You talk about all the policies that we talked about. And today, you saw here in public, when Amara Kone decided to shake the hornet's nest by challenging Samuel Tuwe to a public debate. Well, just briefly, and we saw how one demolished the other. And we can tell when someone says from the United Party, when it comes to talking, nobody can beat, he know how to talk and all that stuff. Okay. But this is what we are talking about. When we talk about competence, is the knowledge and the application of the knowledge to your job, which he did very well. So I stand by Samuel Tuwe. I think after it is all said and done, Samuel Tuwe is going to go down in history as the best finance minister we have ever had.
Wow.
And this is the argument he has presented throughout the year, and Mr. Gilman is closing on it. So in my Gilman voice, I'm going to quote him how he said, Samuel Tuwe is a genius. Samuel Tuwe is a genius.
That's correct. Samuel Tuwe is a genius, and when you look at everything he has done.
I'm asking Maurice now. You finished. You closed the argument.
Oh, you asking me? Or I didn't know you were referring to me.
I'm asking you to respond to Jerome.
Oh no, I'm not going to respond to it. I don't think it's worth a response.
Morris should close his own argument.
Yeah, let me close my own argument.
No.
I'm not dignifying.
Mr. Gongo, please give me a chance. I've been doing this thing since 1847.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not going to dignify, the thing about.
No need.
Yeah, it's not worth a response.
Yeah, what's your closing argument?
Essential official is not really worth a response calling the most qualified. I'll just leave that.
No, I mean this is not Jerome alone. There are a lot of people in the country who says what he's saying.
It's okay.
So let them say that. That's on them.
It's okay.
Did you work with Samuel Tue?
I did.
Okay. What is your assessment?
Besides working with Tue, anybody who knows me when I'm in Liberia, they know how close Tue and I were before he became Minister of Finance.
That's why you're trying to avoid talking about him?
I guess you haven't been following my Facebook posting. Maybe.
I don't think he has been.
Yeah, somebody else will tell you. Dennis, I'm not the person that shy away from it.
Don't have love affairs.
I'm extremely opinionated when it comes to Liberia. I don't hold back my thoughts. No matter how close you are to me, no matter who I support, I still don't hold my thought on issues. You should know that by now. I've criticized even the JMB team on this show, not even a month yet. When JMB came and you were in Stanton, I publicly said here it was a bad move. I don't hold back my thought, Dennis. Tue and I, we ate in the same bowl, we slept in the same room.
I'm asking for my audience too. It's not just me.
So, he's a sanctioned official. I don't think it's gonna, I'm not gonna waste my time responding to Jerome Todd. I think I should talk about my own, whatever.
Go ahead. That alone is a response. So I get it. Go ahead with your closing argument.
Thank you. I think, some of the debates that we brought here in the past, today we can publicly say that, we were right about some of the things we said. I predicted here on this show before that Mr. Cummings was not going to get 100,000 votes again in this 2023 elections. I said that, Tiawan Gonglo was a very good candidate, but I don't think he will come among the top 4 parties. Those were things that I said here. Some people, threw me. They thought I was personally, attacking their candidates and I was against them. But it was just based on the data that we're looking at. I said that CDC and United Party were the 2 top, candidates that are going to make it to the second round. Fortunately for Liberia, Joseph Boakai won the election, and now we can kiss George Weah goodbye. And hopefully, when he comes back 2029, he will see that he may not. The truth is, he got 700, almost 800,000 votes in this election. If Weah get 300,000 votes in the 2029 election, if he runs, I should never appear on a talk show again.
Thank you. Mr. Gong?
Hey, the soothsayer Morris. We hear you, son.
Hold on. I want Calabo to respond to Morris, and then you give your closing argument.
What? I'm not going to respond to Morris. I think he said what he said. But I will say what my closing argument is, and I think by that itself is a response. What I will say, I was not a regular panelist on closing argument. I was always on Tough Talking Thursday. So I think probably this is probably my 3rd time coming here.
Yeah,
so,
but you've been debating. You have opposition.
So I've been debating. So I will close my
3rd time. You've been here more than 3 times. Why are you talking 3rd time?
The 2 times
I've been in show more than 5 times.
Come on, you talking about 3rd time?
The 2 times I came here, you went away. You didn't end the show.
I went over you.
I didn't remember.
Can you go ahead? We are pressed of time.
I'm talking to Glennie. So she always has something to. I have to leave early. But here what I will say. The election is over, but the debate, the issue that came out during the election, the issues are unresolved. And I think Liberia is still a crossroad. We argue, and I in particular argue, that the CDC and the Unity Party, no doubt, they are the biggest political party in the country. But they are also the most corrupt political parties in the country. For the past 18 years, if we talk about corruption in governance, in public service in Liberia, those are the 2 parties that can have ownership of that. So if you want to make a radical departure and radically transform public service and restructure the state, you have to look outside these 2 political parties.
But I don't think political party have led the country.
Hold on, Morris, you say you are not responding. Don't dignify them.
No, it's like saying you know that we are the only football president Abra has ever had. We are the only athlete that have been president.
Let him finish. Let him finish, please.
The voters thought otherwise. Honor our system of governance, constitutional democracy. We respect the voters' right, to choose. So we'll go with that. But my closing is that those issues that we raise, that the issue of rule of law, lack of rule of law, and lack of that culture because people in higher places don't respect our law. The question of the failure of the state to fight corruption, from the time Liberia became a state, has been marked in corruption in public service. That culture will continue. I still don't believe that the Unity Party led by Joseph Boakai has the capacity and the courage to fight corruption in public places. I still don't believe that Joseph Boakai will even do anything on the TRC report or take any meaningful step in the first 100 days towards that. I still don't believe that. I still do not believe that Joseph Boakai will stand here even publicly to say any past official or non-official that have XYZ records will not serve in my government. I still don't believe that he will make such a statement, and he has not made such a statement. Because already we're seeing, I heard on Spoon Talk the other day.
Leader Spoon Talk,
call somebody name who is already a transition committee. John Mori was in the studio, and that issue was raised. And that person is Dr. Augustine Corner, who I understand there was some issue of misappropriation of public funds. Well documented in GAC report, but he's on Boakai transition team. That issue was raised, and John Molu said he has discussed our Ambassador Boakai. Boakai said they should go to Monrovia and blah, blah. Because I don't believe this old man has the courage.
Thank you.
To fight corruption. So for me, I'm closing that to where we started from, that the two political parties are called in corruption party do not have the capacity to transform the state as submit. In 2029, we'll be making the same debate.
Thank you. Glendy, I want you to respond to Calebo and make your own closing argument.
Well, Calebo is not even looking at 2024. He's looking at 2029. I don't have hindsight to see what's going to happen in 2029.
Glendy, I'm just saying corruption will still be an issue in 2029. That's the point I'm making.
Well, I wouldn't say that because I also am not a unity partisan. I was in opposition. That was my argument. I wish that an opposition candidate will win the elections. We can clearly say that an opposition candidate did win the elections. We hope the opportunity that has been given to Liberians to have a new face look also out there. We hope that the opposition now with the opportunity will be able to galvanize the strength of competent people, putting competent people in positions, people with expert knowledge, people with expertise, so that we can be able to move our country forward. I know Mr. Gaiman talk about competent people and how we use the word and how we did it because of people that were known. I would hope that there are so many people out there in Liberia and outside of Liberia that are competent and that they will not become spectators in their country. That's an argument that I'm hoping will continue, that those people will have the opportunities, but also those things that matters about Liberia, that Liberians will come together to be able to see what they can do to make a difference in the country. Take, for example, the JFK issue today. I would hope that the president of Liberia now would declare a state of disaster. Having 40 persons die, it's serious. And hearing the JFK minister and the deputy CEO of JFK saying we don't have supplies, we don't have gloves, we don't have dressing, I would hope that will claim the attention of all of us. And that could be an argument that we can start with going forward with, ensuring that we have adequate health care and that we have we've prepared for disasters when they occurred. So that's my argument, that there will be a difference going forward with this new government.
Thank you. Victor, your response and your own closing argument.
Got a long time to wait, Grandy.
Well,
I'm
look,
optimistic. I'm optimistic.
Hold on. Victor has the floor.
on hindsight, I have to admit, I probably should have recused myself from tonight's topic, and I take that, considering the obvious conflict of interest in the individuals that we're discussing at the beginning of the show. So I take that. My closing argument, I have maintained that the kind of coalition that led this president-elect to victory is a very contentious coalition, and I am not sure how much he's ready to lead this coalition. First of all, you have people who helped him to victory, who themselves have been accused of some of the things that his opponents were accused of. Some of the people are sanctioned, just like the outgoing officials of government, for almost for some of the same reasons that they were sanctioned. So how he's going to deal with this? My friend Gongo just mentioned the fact that he may not be able to address the question of the economic and war crime court. I'm interested to see how he's going to, how these issues are going to play out. Because we cannot be condemning one act across the aisle and normalize it on our side. So I worry about that. And we're watching, the various actors playing out. I haven't really heard much of this president-elect yet, but he has all these people around him making pronouncements that, some of them really know nothing about. They're just grandstanding. And so I'm happy that the process went on smoothly. I'm happy that the outgoing president was able to concede to allow the process to play out. But I really worry about the incoming president's ability to to deliver. Already, some of the key actors are telling us to manage our expectations. But of course, you knew about all of these and you made these promises on the campaign trail. And now we're giving you the keys to the mansion and you're telling us to manage our expectations. I think in a sense that's deception. So I worry that all of this enthusiasm and expectations, we may not be incoming president may not be able to balance them out. But I wish them well, as I've always maintained here. If they succeed, Liberia succeeds, and for that reason, I'll actually be rooting for them. I hope they do succeed, so that this country can move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Are you also worried? And what's your closing argument?
I will start with my closing argument first. My argument has always been, and it continues to be, that George Weah is a true Democrat, and we need to hail him for that. From the time he was in opposition, when he lost those two successive elections to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, we knew there was massive irregularities, and he stayed the course. Never called for violence. Was always peaceful. When he became president, all of the elections, the by-elections that were held under his presidency, were the opposition won most of those elections. He never did anything to dissuade, the voice of the people. So George Weah is a true Democrat. With all of his flaws, and we wish that he would work on them, we have to hail him for being a Democrat and not being a despot, somebody who wants to hold on to power no matter what, and try to stifle his opponents. He allow everybody to speak. He allow everybody to criticize him. He allow the media to do their work. He's been a true Democrat. We need to hail him for it. Even in comparison to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, we saw what happened in her government with elections. You can't even compare him to Samuel Doe and the likes of Charles Taylor, and even Tubman, who was a towering figure, who was in power for 27 years, a dictator par excellence. So I think George Weah is somebody, when we're talking about democracy, we have to hold up there. To President Weah, I would tell you this. I would make a case to you. I think a lot of us forget that George Weah left Liberia, I won't say in his formative years, but having not mastered the English language, and went to France and played most of his playing careers in countries that didn't speak English. So he was learning French. He was fluent in French. Went to Italy, learned Italian. went back to France again and played for Marseille and so forth. So he may not be so, acquainted with the English language. I will appeal to my president, get some speech therapists, really learn the English language and master and become a master speech orator, so that when you come back, what you felt was limiting you from communicating with the Liberian people will now become a strength for you, where you can adequately, communicate with the people and express your thoughts and views on issues that will make you a better leader. But overall, I will close my argument by saying that George Weah, a Democrat, a true Democrat, not somebody that's looking to thwart the will of the people, even against the advice of his people in the CDC. He stood on democratic principle and conceded defeat. I hail him for that, and that will be my argument. And I hope Joseph Boyka will emulate George Weah in his term. When we see by-elections going against the Unity Party, it won't be somebody reading CDC, numbers or ANC number in favor of Unity Party, as we saw on the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. So that would be my closing argument.
And what you say about my question, I'm asking you, are you also afraid that Mr. Boakai is not, are you having the same fear as Gonglo and Nambe? Concerning Mr.
I've said it here, for the longest, and people say, since I'm one of the youngest person on this platform, they always look at it as disrespect. When a person show you who they are the first time, believe them. I think I know who Joseph Boakai is. I think Ms. Glendy went to the same church as Joseph Boakai. My family also went to Alpha Baptist. As a child, I was in Alpha Baptist. My mother knows Joseph Boakai family very well. Knows your father, Bayaga, a genius, justice. I will, put that respect to his name. So we know Joseph Boakai's family. We know his kids. From rehab, we know the kind of person that he is. I say it all the time, and I will say it again. Joseph Boakai is like a mafia boss. He sent his conciliaries to go do his dirty work, and he sit down, supinely and act like nothing happened. Or in our common term, he's like a cat who eat and wipe his mouth, and you don't even see any evidence that he ate anything. So Joseph Boakai is who he is. We're seeing by his associations and the people that he surrounds himself with. I mean, you come to America, the first person you go to is a convicted felon. The former person you pick as your former vice president is a sanctioned official. Jeremiah Kuhn has been rife for corruption accusation in his whole tenure as senator. You sat there and you say you pick somebody who reflects your value, and you pick somebody like a Jeremiah Kuhn. Come on. Joseph Boakai has shown us who he is. We're just please. For those of us who are acting blind to it, we're just being naive or partisan. He's shown who he is by the people that he associates with. So for me, I'm not going to bash him when he gets into office. I'm going to be a patriot, and I'm going to support and hope that he does well. But when he errs, I'm going to criticize him.
You support Weah. You support Weah.
Well, let me just. Can I get a few seconds?
No, we'll come to you.
Dennis.
We'll come to you.
I'm going to get a few seconds on that because.
Hold on, Glendy. Just hold your thought there.
I will hold my effort after
Then give me a few seconds.
Let me go to Washington.
Give me a few seconds too.
Hold your thought. Let me go to Washington.
Yes.
Washington, go ahead, and then we'll come back to you, please.
Okay, Mr. Dennis, thank you so much.
I want your response to Evans and then your closing argument.
My response to Evans would be more about what he said about George Weah. For me, I love him as a person, but I don't think he was politically ready to lead our country. So he might have gone, learned a lot of things, played soccer, very successfully doing that. But I mean, when it comes to leadership, he didn't have it. So for me, I wouldn't buy some of the things he did say about George Weah. However, I would like to go to my argument that I had on this platform throughout the year. And my argument always been that Joseph Boakai and the Unity Party leadership would not be fundamentally different from the CDC-led government. It's going to be business as usual. And I already begin to see the signs. Boakai gets elected, comes to the United States. If I was advising him, my first thing would say, hey, Mr. President, you've just been elected, take 2 days off, go for the retreat, think about what you're going to be doing for the future for our country. He comes to the U.S., he goes around, he does an interview. And that interview was beautiful. I like the things he said. But one thing that we didn't like about that interview was that when he said that he's going to get foreign auditing firm to come and do the audit. I'm like, are you kidding me? Well, what that seemed to suggest to me is that you intend to undermine the competent Liberian auditing, accounting, auditing, and institutions in favor of foreign institutions. What are you afraid of? If I had to leave, are you afraid because they talk, oh, why? Don't you think they'll be like witch hunting? But if you say you have competent people, why are you afraid of doing a very transparent way that you have to go and get a foreign auditing firm to come and do your auditing in the country? It gets the sense that if it comes from outside, it has to be better. And this condescending attitude about this white mentality that, oh, when there's some outside, then our people will believe it and will trust it. No, I mean, they are competent Liberians. I see everybody talking about competent Liberians. So are they not competent auditing friends? So I think that's where he starts to proceed, for me, wrongly. That's the first thing. He's proceeding wrongly. The next thing is our country is one country that has two national diseases. One is lies, the one is sycophancy. These are two national diseases our country has. And Mr. Barker comes back. And one thing I didn't like about the CDC government was that there was no order. Everybody was doing everything. And I already begin to see Barker doing the same thing. The first thing he comes from the United States, the place is so crowded that he himself cannot even get out from the plane and walk to his terminal. And that's the same thing CDC was doing. There's no order. I mean, put journalists on one side, put people, everybody's there, everybody wants to shake a hand. The whole sycophancy thing. Oh, yeah, Mr. President, yeah, but this is dancing, that is culture troop. Come on, you need to get away from this kind of thing. And that's the same thing CDC used to do. When Judge Ray is going to dedicate a place, everybody leave their offices. The ministers, the deputy ministers, people that have nothing to do with it, they will all be crowded there. That the whole ministries are empty. It's the same thing they begin to do. It's the same thing. He comes from there, he goes into the terminal, he gets a press conference. And the next thing he says to the people, oh, when I went to the United States, so I was able to meet these, the senator, I met the IMF, this, I met that, and there's a goodwill. Come on. Is that how you want to be proceeding? It's almost like somebody saying to his son, okay, I'm going to visit my friend. And when I went to visit my friend, he said to me, this Christmas, he's going to give me some money so I can be able to buy Christmas clothes for you. It's the same thing. It's just a replica of the one that has been happening. The next thing he goes into the church and he gets a big speech there. The same thing Judge Weah and the people were doing. That's why for me, I think my argument still stands, and I see that there will be nothing fundamental. No, there will be no fundamental change. It's just going to be business as usual. The same people are going to be recycling around this government. And at the end of the day, it's going to be like, oh, we try to do the best we can, and we did the best we can. So for me, I just stay of the opinion that this new administration is business as usual.
Glennie, you got your 30 seconds, and after you will be Mr. Gaiman.
So I appreciated the fact that Elvis.
But I thought Gaiman was the first to go. You said after him, Mr. Gaiman, after her, Mr. Gaiman again?
Oh, you just interrupted Glennie, and the 30 seconds will be.
No, Dennis, but if you put Gaiman in, all I got wait.
That man is afraid of me so bad.
The first to go.
Glennie, your 30 seconds.
I recognize the fact, and I appreciate the fact that Elvis goes back to F Baptist Church. I will also say that whatever he knows about Joseph Boyka, we don't share the same sentiments, the mafia stuff and all that he's sharing. If he was a young boy at the time, and if he is the youngest here, then that was way when he was much smaller. So I don't know where that history he now speaks of Joseph Boyka comes from. But I have nothing negative to say. I don't know about that aspect of him. I also want to say to Father Washington, I appreciate your sentiments, but I appreciate that when Joseph Boyka returned to the country, he interacted with Liberians. I also appreciate that immediately, it wasn't the next day, Father Washington, it was the same night, that very night from the airport, they went straight to the church to do a Thanksgiving service for Joseph Boyka, which I felt was appropriate because everybody was saying, that Joseph Boyka probably had died and Joseph Boyka was in the hospital. We can agree to disagree. I appreciate that was done. I was excited. I watched it, and it felt like home for me, being home and then having a a prayer service. I will also say we cannot compare Joseph Boakai to a President Weah and what he did every time that they took school children out of school to go meet President Weah. Whenever he was coming, that the different officials had to go there to meet him. We can't compare that because this is only one instance that we have seen. If we see a second instance where we have teachers and school students lined up and ministers line up to go and meet Joseph Boakai, then at that time we will speak. But I think those things that were done for me, I have no qualms with it. They were appropriate. I loved it.
Thank you.
Can I respond?
Mr. Gilman, your 30 seconds.
Yeah, my sister Glenda remind me of her famous cousin Dylan. He says, I don't care how much you steal, as long as it's in the budget. Once it's in the budget, you can use it. Just put it in the budget. So that's what they are saying there. It's appropriate as long as he does it. One of the things that I want for us to, I think the father said it right.
I think Boakai said that also, not Delon alone.
Yes, that's correct.
And I love that they said it to make it legal and then you can use it. What's wrong with that?
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Make it legal.
That a mafia boss and finding the back door.
I will not be calling Joseph Boakai mafia because we can go, because if we want to restart the argument, and call Joseph Boakai mafia, we can then call George Weah a rebel leader. How we like that?
Okay, so
you know, I appreciate
here
the
we
fact
are.
Jerome is talking.
Listen, I appreciate the fact that Glennie is only female here, but you let her interrupt all the time, and you don't let anybody
interrupt who? Who am I interrupting?
You just interrupted Jerome.
Jerome interrupted me. That's how he got the time to speak.
Okay, Glennie, I want to give Jerome the 30 seconds now. Jerome, please.
Victor.
We have a lot of callers waiting in the wings, so go ahead, Jerome. 30 seconds.
I want to remind the audience here that on Sunday on Point, we are going to be discussing Joseph Boakai renovation that's going on now in his house. Joseph Boakai's renovation. Joseph Boakai is now, his home is being renovated. He has not even taken office. We're going to look into that. So Sunday, tune in, 4 o'clock Eastern time, on Point, we're going to be discussing what's the difference between Joseph Boakai renovation and Joe Weah renovation. When he came into power, they said the president was using the people's money. Where did Joseph Boakai get money from now to renovate, to build a mansion before he even took office? We'll be discussing that this coming Sunday, 4 Eastern time. Thank you, sir.
If you want to be part of the conversation tonight, please call 605-313-6004.
They got 150,000
Calabo, you can't be doing this when I'm talking.
Wash. On visiting the US. Y'all let me with, man.
Calabo, please, you are disturbing what I'm trying to get our audience to call in. We have callers already lined up. And the first
Elvin, don't call.
The first caller is James Lassa. Mr. Lassa, you have a minute, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Look, I'm calling from Baltimore. Just want to throw in 1 or 2 points here.
What's your closing argument, Lassa?
Yeah, the closing is about Musa being in Wolokollie, Samora, Wolokollie. I regard the whole affair as a 419 saga, complete 419 saga, because Nangwe, the Associate Justice, claimed to submit a letter for retirement, but as I even mentioned, website is claiming that the Associate Justice submitted his resignation. That's contradiction. And the president sends a letter to the Senate. He does not mention retirement or resignation. He does not even mention whether there's a vacancy. He does not even mention the name of the person who is to be replaced. That is complete BM419 operation right there. So I think the whole government didn't expect that it would be kicked out so abruptly. I think because the election should have been scheduled for November 7th. Instead, they pushed it to 14th. I believe he asked the election commission to do it so that it can coincide with his justice number 14. What I did effectively was to give Boakai and his team a whole lot of time to reorganize and get recharged for the second round. And it got him really, with his hands down, and he's seeking for protection. Now, why does he need Musa or Dean to be associate justice? Musa Dean is practically a seriously potential suspect in various criminal scandals. His signature is almost on every document that is associated with public outcry of corruption and things. So putting him at the Supreme Court justice will provide you for both in
like what? Like what, Mr. Lassa? Like what?
Forward.
Like what?
Yeah. Who's that?
Like what?
Mr. Jai, not jump down and make
Victor,
all the
let me
accusations
finish.
you're making.
That means interrupting now.
like the diamond deal, the Igbo loan, the Eton loan. He signed on all of those, and he said even if the loan comes from the devil, we will take it. So Musa Dean is complicit in many of those. Musa Dean has no democratic credential. He has no democratic history. He was a personal friend of Oscar Kuya that brought in the UPP and benefited from a covering of the progressive color. He has no progressive record at all. So I wanted to make that point.
Thank you.
Secondly, Dennis, how could someone still now pass away? He has not been buried. His death has not been formally announced, and we are want to send somebody to go replace him. This is just
thank you. Maybe you got a confirmation.
But we have to cover himself.
Thank you.
Dennis?
No, I said thank you. Maybe you got a confirmation.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Callers, please be brief. Let me hear from Elston Wisse. Mr. Wisse, go ahead. You're live. 1 minute, please.
How are you all doing on the platform? This is Elston, the legend Wisse. Let me start by tackling the bull from its horn. There are a couple of checkpoints I must erect here relative to the people who support the outgoing leadership of the very inept George Weah. Firstly, there's a line. I'm going to tell you there are two types of Liberians in this whole electoral process going on to the next government. We will draw a dichotomy here, and here is why I say this. There are two types of Liberians. When I say this, I mean that, one, we have people who are knowledgeable and they were standing with George Weah because of selfish reasons, meaning there are people who supported this government and George Weah because of the gains, personal gains that they could get for it. And secondly, the second type of Liberian we have are those Liberians who were very limited and need our education. Kind of think about it like this. Liberia has a population that is less than 50% literate. This is no secret. Think about America, the great United States, that most of all who are on these platforms and calling tribes in, right? America have people who don't know that. Athletes like Shaq O'Neal, the former NBA player, he has a doctorate degree. But tell me today, if he were to put himself out there for presidency, say he were to run hypothetically for independent candidacy, the Liberian people, the American, the chances of them electing him will be slim to nothing because the people know, people have their area, like our common Liberian son says, know your area. So they're not going to just make anybody president of America. And then lastly, to conclude, I will tell you this, right? In our country, right, Liberia, when you see the type of people that we have, the thing that will push this country forward, when we see something is not right, we should stand up and oppose it vehemently, because if we don't do that, we'll continue to make wrong choices. Think about this. On Mehu George Weah, he had a sports store. Some people do not remember this. He had a sports store. Where is it today? It did not materialize. He had a TV station. TV. Where is it today? It's nowhere to be counted. He had a soccer team, junior professional. That team cannot be formed. It just tells you, with all the plethora of things that are just listed and more to come, that kind of person could not be trusted with a nation or 5 million people. If he could not, he could not manage his own wealth, the amount of wealth that he amassed as a footballer, he did not manage them to be able to show to the Liberian people after his retirement.
Thank you.
Then you trust a man like that with the entire nation. It tells you the kind of country that we are facing. So we who are knowledgeable, we have to continuously speak on these matters and enlighten our Liberians. This is the only way we can take our country from this dungeon.
Thank you.
Telling you, and we'll never.
I guess just about that manage your wealth when you're living on loans.
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure, my brother. Have a good show. I'm following you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Flomo Livingston, quickly.
Yeah, I mean, great show. Look, for me, I only have a few things to talk on. Look, if Musa Dean or Mr. Wolokollie think that if they get confirmed in that turning position, they are free, they are fully themselves, they're living on one of the 17 continents. Look, Joseph JMB and his justice minister will rely on Article 71 of the Liberian Constitution. If you read the last page, and those guys will be investigated. So if they are found guilty in the court of law for treason or bribery or other infamous crime, they can be removed from their position. So let them know that. Councilor Gongolo, I don't think Councilor Gongolo want to take position like that to go sit on the bench. He's like, what, 67, 68 years old? Why would he want to go waste his time to serve for 2 or 3 years? Article 72B of the Constitution said that when you reach 70 years old, you should retire. So for me, why would he want to waste his time to go sit there for another 2 or 3 years on the bench just to prove what? The last one would be, let me say, Justin Langley. So I have a question, I hope any of the panelists can answer that. So he been sick for 8 months, and he living in Ghana getting treatment. So is the Lebron taxpayer dollar paying for his treatment? Why he getting paid?
Yeah.
Because our Lord, in America, your job, when you stay for 8 months, I don't think we'll be able to pay you for that period of time. And why are they paying for your treatment for 8 months? All right, I try to be corrected.
Thank you.
And the last one,
Go ahead, conclude, please.
Yeah. The last one I have to say about, Calibu Gongolo said the two parties, CDC and United Party, are not correct. Look, it's a democratic institution we have. The people elect who they want to elect. We live in America here, we get Republican and Democrat. That doesn't mean they don't have other political party in America here. But as the two parties, people keep electing. So what would you say that it's a democratic country, so they decide who they want to vote for. If you think the LPP can win, that's 2029 coming. Hopefully your brother can be able to win, which I doubt. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aliyu Kamara.
Good evening, Dennis, and all of your panelists. Let me just say that I was just speaking with someone. Let me just clarify this. The issue of war and economic crimes is not a part of Joseph Parker 100-day plan. It's not going to be achieved. It's not even going to be touched. Just to clarify that. This thing about Mr. Councilor Dean, I think people are making too much of it. I have a personal opinion. If I were President Weah or any president, in order for me to appoint a judge, I have to make sure that this person has been a judge before, based on their experience as a judge. But with that said, this is no big thing. A lot of the argument here is that Councilor Dean signed on all of the contracts that went through, but have we investigated to knowing for a fact whether that is the protocol, whether the Attorney General of the country have to sign these documents anyway? Does he have the power that when the first branch of government pass something, he can go ahead and say, I cannot sign it? And those kind of other kind of ratification. So let us investigate the legal connotations of these things, and then before we can really, really try to debate them. But we know for a fact, knowing the record of Honorable Joseph Parker, knowing his person, we will surprise the ANC/citizens like Monday. Joseph Newman Parker will fight corruption. There is no society where corruption is totally if that was a kid, people wouldn't be going to jail in America for corruption. Men by nature is corrupt.
Thank you, Aliyu.
Okay, so Joseph Parker will do his best to fight corruption. Now, the thing here is, with all this venom, when he set the foundation for you and you come there, you go ahead and continue from where he stopped. Don't go back like the CDC and break the foundation and rebuild the foundation when you are not an architect. But thank you for having me.
Thank you. Let me take our last caller here is Hassan Kone. Hassan, you're live.
Yeah. And great show tonight. And so, these guys make a lot of fantastic points. I just want to say, with the whole the president picking It is right. It's constitution. It's not wrong. Everybody's giving an opinion what it is and stuff like that, right? But he has the right to do it, and it's left with the Senate to be able to hear it if they want to hear it. And I'm not really worried about if he gets to be a Supreme Court or justice, because these people aren't loyal to an idea. They only move with their belly. So Councilor Jenkins to get nominated, and he would be able to carry water for Joseph Walker if Joseph Walker won. So these people aren't aligned with political ideas. It's not like in America, yeah, they got conservative and liberals and stuff like that. So I'm not worried about whoever they put there. They move with their stomach. And so after my I agree with Ellis. We have to give President Weah credit. If one thing he'll be remembered for is because he's a democratic president, right? We saw by-elections happen, even the election that he just conceded, way before even the final vote was called. So I agree with Elvis on that point. But everything else, people beating George Weah when it comes to those things and stuff like that. It's his constitutional right to do. It's his constitutional right to do those things. And I want to address one point that President Tiggy talking about his thing. So saying that Cummings, since you're so saying like Cummings had Cummings was going to get less than 100,000 votes. I'm pretty sure he saw Appleton beating Cummings too. So if that's what he's trying to say. So we all know what happened in the first round. Right, we're going to look forward to now. Hopefully, Joseph Walker do good, but I doubt he's going to do it because already, like I said, I agree with most of the things I said. Right?
Thank you.
Walker line himself with a lot of corrupt people, and we already know how it's going to turn out. So people should stop fooling themselves. But thank you for the show and happy New Year to you guys on the show.
Thank you and happy New Year. Those are our callers. Let me go to Morris first to respond to the callers or any of your fellow panelists.
So the last caller is this is the funny thing about these Weah supporters.
God. I am a supporter.
I'm gonna mute yourself, man, so that at least we can talk our part. When you talk, nobody can block you. So the funny thing about these seditions, when they come to this conversation, they come with all this moral argument about, imagine you get a cow here, but you already start distributing the meat. They're already talking about how the Joseph Walker government will be corrupt. I listened to Elvis here talking about how all mafia, JMB, so disrespectful in a way to the old man. It's not even funny. But here is a man who support Weah that hang out with BM in Delaware. He got the BM get arrested right in his face. And there are so many people in the Weah administration that have gotten sanctioned because of corruption. But this Elvis guy and all the other callers that support this CDC regime don't have the courage, just the courage to say this is totally wrong and it's unacceptable because I'm a Liberian before I'm a sedition or before I support Weah. It takes courage to do that. So you can come and talk about, I don't have a problem with you assuming that the JMB administration will be corrupt, because I sitting here don't know what our government will look like. And if they are corrupt, some of us will call them out and say, this is going to be, this is corrupt, it's unacceptable. But you should have the courage. If you really, really love Liberia, like you claim, you should have the courage to call it out when you see it on your side of the aisle. This is where I get a little antsy about these CDC people, and it makes me uncomfortable to even have a conversation with them, including my own friend Twe, because I've had conversation with him where it's almost like a cult that you believe in it so much that nothing else is wrong with it. You can't see anything wrong with the association. When I see my friend Calebo here, trying to build new alliances with Elvis, it makes me laugh. Because I know not laugh. I honestly know.
Let Mr. Gongo is a smart guy.
It's an interim relationship that will go for a few months, and after a while, it will die natural death because Calebo don't belong in our cult. He knows that. Calebo here knows that he don't belong in our cult.
Thank you, Morris.
He's assuming an opposition heart. Now he wants to say, okay, let's start building these alliances. Hopefully something come of it. It's not going to last. It's like my sister Mariah and all these people that are associated with people. They will not stay there. We saw the people that went there. We saw what they treated them, and they ran away and left that group. But the second caller on the line, the things he said about the CDC, I found it very profound. I'm really happy that he made the point that he made. Thank you.
Thank you. Father Will, Washington. You'll respond. You wanted to respond to other panelists and the callers.
The point I made about I see some of the same trend CDC was following. I see the unity party people following the same trend. I know Gandhi is saying that we should just wait. And, when he gets to power, probably it might change. But this is not the first time. Even when he started making those, when he started having those press conferences at the beginning, even before the elections, I could see this order. And that's the kind of thing I don't like. There's no order. Everybody's doing everything. And when the president goes somewhere, everybody just follows. Everybody just want to show themselves. And
even Aliyu were talking for the president. The president
everybody, and that's something I saw in the statistics. I wish I can already begin to see it. And everybody is talking, everybody's doing everything. Everybody wants to show they are the ones who brought him to power. We are the main people for a unity party, so we are the ones who's supposed to speak. Come on, man. Try to put some order. When the president they went to the elections commissioner and election commission office. Why did we have all that elaborate service? Just to go and receive a certificate, everybody has to go. Come on, man. You guys need to change, man. I'm just fed up. I'm just fed up.
Thank you. Calabo. Response to anybody?
No, I'm not going to respond to Morris talking about building a new alliance. The truth is, I don't belong to the CDC and I don't belong to the Unity Party. I've never been a member of any of the two political parties.
At least you work with us.
No, but you should also argue that in 1997, Morris, I've said this publicly.
I thought you said you were not responding to Morris.
I know. I'm wondering what you're doing myself.
Morris,
my brother. Yeah, we'll get with that further work out.
The fact is, when Morris talk, what he doesn't say is that in 2005, I was that guy who organized Liberians for Earning Live.
There you go. So you supported us.
And I appointed Amara Corner to be the chairman
of
Live.
That's true.
Because of the effort and brain work I put into that,
you became assistant minister.
I went to Monrovia.
There you go.
Ellen Johnson Salih.
Hold on, Morris.
Just for the record. See,
asked me to work, not because I was a member of the Unity Party. No. Mm-hmm. And the fact is, I've been a long-time supporter of Ellen Johnson Salih as far back as 1997. But Ellen Johnson Salih is not Unity Party. When I was supporting her, she was not.
Can you let him finish?
She was not in the Unity Party. Right. So get that right. My association with her started before she became Unity Party person. Okay, so that's a different conversation to have. But I will come back to this. I listened to the first caller, the guy from Bon County.
James Lassa.
My uncle. I listened to my uncle James Lassa. He was talking about President. We are trying to find the protection. When people make such a statement, I usually make reference to Article 61 of our Constitution. Article 61 is very clear, unambiguous. President Weah can take gun today, and I will set the example of Morris Command and say, I'm sending ticket for you to come to Monrovia to see me at the executive mansion and take the gun and shoot Morris Command dead at the executive mansion.
You can't arrest the president.
By our Constitution, that act is immune from prosecution.
That's not true.
No, it's clear.
After he leaves office.
Thank God I'm not a lawyer.
The Constitution says any act could mean anything.
No, but it should be in line with his job.
Where you can argue whether
if you can't shoot somebody, that's not part of your duty.
It's a positive prescription, but we can argue on that. But the point I'm making is, so President Weah does not need to have somebody on the Supreme Court bench to seek protection. Why would you need somebody at the ARA also to seek protection? So it does, for me, I think that's a sentimental argument. The key issue here is, does he have the constitutional mandate to act and perform and discharge the duties and function of the office of the President of the Republic of Liberia, I say yes. That Monday, he should go ahead. That duty, he should perform it. If there is a vacancy on January 15, he should go on and fill that vacancy. It's constitutional. It's mandated. And I think we should be a constitutionalist on this. We should respect our constitution. Okay? The other thing I would say is, and there was somebody who made a profound statement here about some of the argument people making here. The Unity Party and the CDC, I'm very clear on that. The CDC needs rebranding, just as the Unity Party should. Here on social media, if Morris Kumar not saying, I will send a link to you. People have been zooming on the watch Ambassador Bwaka wore, when he went back to Liberia, watching on his hand. Those who know brand name, they say the least you can pay for that is $40,000. And they say that particular brand, it costs $130,000. That's why you are worried. There's so many rumors that are about social media that Joseph Bwaka entourage, not Amra Kone, not Kofi Woods, I'm not going to call the other name, but people who are in his inner circle.
You mean rumors?
Some of them got gift of $150,000 from friendly investors and what have you. And under the code of conduct,
you call him any. The man a friend from Philadelphia, call him any. Why you call him any?
I'm not going to call name.
Okay. Mr. Gonglo, you saying that rumors?
Under the code of conduct, under the code of conduct.
Mr. Gonglo, are you saying you are this is rumors?
More than $25,000.
That proof? You have the proof?
Oh, now you're asking for proof, but we are again ask for proof.
We asked for proof also, but we didn't have to present it.
Hold on,
also
Glendy.
asked him.
Hold on, Glendy.
So what are you talking
Mr.
about?
Mr. Gonglo, you are quoting rumors. Mr. Gonglo, are you quoting rumors? You're saying based on rumors. I don't want you to.
It's on social media.
But are rumors?
Yeah, you said
rumors. They say you got evidence on it that they say.
No, social media, Dennis, that's the sources of information. It's one of the sources of information today.
But then quote someone. Don't just say rumors.
Your man always got evidence. Here, Jerome.
Why you always go down the throat of people who speaking against Bwaka? You leave a man talk.
And you always then giving people a chance to talk.
All right.
Yeah.
For me, I don't expect,
Mr. Victor Nabwe.
I don't expect anything fundamentally to change under the Unity Party government. No. If Morris Kumar was going to be the president today, maybe I'll have a meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Nabwe.
Yeah, then I'd like to quickly respond to Mr. Lassa. First of all, the gentleman who is putting in for early retirement, he is not Victor Number. I am Victor.
Okay.
That gentleman is
promotion, my man. You didn't know you got promotion.
Yeah, that gentleman is Joseph Number. So I wanted to make that correction. I also like to, at the risk again of sounding partisan or whatever it is. He made some allegations against Musa Ding, and I wanted to, respond to this quickly. Last time, I think we're all around the same age, and we know what we all have gone through to go out in the street and protest against the government. We know how dangerous that was during our time. Musa Ding was the minister who authorized Henry Costa to come in the street on a June day and arrest the entire Monrovia and bring it to a standstill. It was Musa Ding who gave permit to Ellis Cummings and the CPP to go to the Anthony Tubman Stadium and launch their retire campaign. These are uncommon permits. Right now, they seem very, we take them for granted now because they've become a commonplace. But Musa Ding worked in a very difficult system. I'm not going to preach for him, whatever it is, but we have to also give credit where credit is due. I think those were very, very difficult decisions to the point where we all remember how he was threatening along with the Minister of Transport by the Lord Mayor of the city of Monrovia.
You want to speak to Ellen Cochrane issue too?
Thank you.
Speaker Ellen Cochrane issue.
Non-ethnic Republican.
Musa Ding and Samora Wolokollie, aren't we? Why are we going to Ellen Cochrane?
No, you were talking about giving permit to
Thank you.
Henry Costa, to
Right.
CPP case. That's what I'm saying. Will you mention something about Cochran too?
No,
But
if
don't
I knew
remember, that's
something,
fine.
if I knew something about it, I would. But I
Oh,
wanted to,
all right.
I wanted to quickly mention those. But thank you to the callers and thank you to James as well. He's very active. I like that. I just wanted to, put out those few pointers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. No, Glendy. Go ahead, Glendy.
I just also want to remind Victor that those two significant riots, those two significant protests he spoke about, Musa Dean was also the justice minister when they sprayed the people were he was also the justice minister when they did the spraying and dispersed the people. And people couldn't find out where they were, whether and how Henry Costa escaped from Liberia. He was the justice minister. He was also the justice minister when Isaac Vatopa had to flee Liberia. He was the justice minister. And he's been the justice minister on so many occasions.
When all the auditors
died, he was the justice minister. So we can name a lot of things. And it's not unprecedented for a justice minister to okay a protest that is being warranted by the people of Liberia. That's not unprecedented. That's what's expected. People should be allowed to protest freely. It's constitutional. But when we're here praising Musa Dean, regardless, and I'm the first one to say it, I am related to Musa Dean, but I'm on the record.
When do you get family all over the place?
I'm telling you, I am on the record. And I am not going to say here and be like Victor because Musa Dean is his friend and cover up some things that he's done and hail him on other stuff. He was the justice minister when so many things happen. And we must be able to be fair and be balanced in our approach when we're talking about that.
What?
Thank you. Mr. Gideon.
I'm just simply giving credit to where credit is due, that's all.
I just want to remind you, my brother.
The woman from every country.
That's it. I'm a Liberian.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last Friday of the year 2023. And we have to say, it looks like we have seen this movie before. They said, according to the opposition, President Weah came to power, and the next thing he did was he broke down his house on 9th Street and built it within no time. At least he became president. You say he took all that money. President-elect Joseph Boakai have not even been inaugurated. His home has been broken down and rebuilt. They say renovation. They said $500,000 by friends of Joseph Boakai, but not Joseph Boakai. That's what the supporters are saying. We'll delve into this on Sunday. A new home. The president-elect, who said, President, we have built 40,000, when they 40 condominiums in 30 days. He built the Miami
Jamaica Resort.
Yes, he built all of those things.
You talked about this thing before. Go to the next one now.
I am talking about it. I know.
But what is wrong with talking about it?
Mr. John, I know when I hit on you, it hurts you a whole lot, but there's nothing you can do because that's the truth. I know the truth hurt you, Mr. John. It hurts you like hell, but it's all right. You're going to get over it. That's 6 years, Mr. John. 6 years to deal with us. Thank you very much, guys. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Well,
Dennis,
I didn't get a chance to respond, Mr. John.
Because you are everybody.
And you say you're the youngest. You kept saying the youngest.
I know, right?
So you're treating me like a stepchild.
Go ahead, Obis.
I'm impressed the young man fit that way.
Right. Look, let me say this. When people start receiving emoluments before they even enter office, that's a problem. If you're living on loans and you got a 30,000 or 150,000 watch on your arm, on your wrist before coming back into the country, and you're seeing with people who are known, money launderers and people who committed wire frauds, and you're sitting there watching Arsenal game with them, which I know for a fact Arsenal will lose the title this year anyways, but it says a lot about you. I have family member who live very close to Joseph Boyka house. You know, he and Weir house is not too far from each other. You know,
we would do lifestyle
yeah.
audit. We would take that one.
Imagine Boyka saying he would do lifestyle audit. No. Because we know the man. We know the man. The man. Everybody say one of the things everybody was happy with Boyka. The man living at seen house for 30 years. You look at how the horse looking. You can tell the man not a rule. He spent no money on your horse because all the money he took, he went and built for a wife in Bon County. You not see that man company in Bon County? Not Bon County, but Bomi. His house in Bomi is very, very much nicer than the one he's living in now. So Joseph Boyka is nothing different. And Morris said the same thing. I'm being disrespectful to the man. Look, I'm only using an analogy or maybe a simile and liking him to a mafia boss who was saying he own a man, you know, Jacob Wolokollie, his son, to go ask people for money, to beg people for money, and then sit down and Allah, he's not the one that begging for it. We've seen it while Wolokollie eyes, like Miss Glendy can say. Joseph Boyka is already compromised. He was solid, his quote unquote integrity with taking emoluments when he's not supposed to be doing that. It's against the Constitution. Nobody give you $100,000 for free. They have political interest, they have business interests, and you're going to be swayed by those gifts. So if you're a person who can be carried away easily by money, do not be taking gifts from people who you know in the future will come back and ask for favors in return. Joseph Boyka is a smart man. He knows the game and he knows how it's going to be played. So now I'm more inclined to believe that he was willing to negotiate with those guys to sell it Wologissi Mountain. If people in Lofa County start seeing yellow machine going to the Wologissi Mountain, they better go put the Lofa devil on the road and block that road from the people going to the Wologissi Mountain. Joseph Boyka is who we thought he is. I will say that and I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Join us here tomorrow on FOL Justice Forum as we'll talk about the legal and material impact of the nomination of Councillor Frank Musa Dean to the Supreme Court. Councillor Frederick Jewe, former Justice Kamina Jane, and Attorney James Jensen will be my guests. And we're going to add the Samora Wolokollie possible appointment to see whether there's anything in that to say, well, if someone dies in office, tell you this is what's supposed to happen. This is the succession clause. So we're going to discuss all that. We have the best lawyers. Join me tomorrow at 6 p.m. right here on Focus on Liberia. Well, Glendy and gentlemen, thank you so much for tonight. 30 seconds each for your closing. I just want to be very respectful of your time here. Let me start with Elvis, your 30 seconds. And when you hear this, it means your 30 seconds now. Go ahead, Elvis.
Look, I'm so pleased. As the youngest person on the platform, I take great umbrage to be on the platform with these great people. You know, I'm noisy, I can be frisky at times, but it's all in the intellectual spirit. Look, Joseph Boyka will be. Oh, please don't interrupt my time. Joseph Boyka will be exactly who we know him to be: a man who takes gifts, a man who do things through the back doors and whip him up, and Allah, he's uncorrupted, but a man who is going to be getting a lot of backdoor dealings and kickbacks. Joseph Boyka will be a president who will be no different from the corrupt president of Liberia past.
Thank you. Mr. Father Washington.
Yeah, thank you much for having me on the show. It's been a healthy exchange. I think we have shared a lot of education for our people. I just want to, before I close, just say my prayers and thoughts for our brothers and sisters out there who lost their relatives. If there's anybody out there who lost relatives and needs some bereavement support, counseling, or whatever, please reach out to me. I'm willing to support and support you every way I can.
Thank you. Mr. Gilman, for 30 seconds, can you say the prayer for the president you liked?
Hopefully, geez.
It's hard to do.
It's hard to pray. Thank you very much.
All right, you're closing. Give us your closing, Mr. Gilman.
I'm done.
Thank you. Lenny, you're closing.
So let me pray for him. And Father God, we want you to continue to bless Joseph Boyka. Bless him, Lord. Keep him.
I keep getting
direct him so that he can be able to lead Liberia. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm done.
Mr. Number, you're closing.
Yeah, I want to pray for Glennie, the interrupter, so that she doesn't interrupt.
There's a lot of prayer going around. That's good. You got that very nice.
And the prayer going around. But on a serious note, I really want to acknowledge the GNB supporters and UP people to get the feelings out of this thing. They should be ready for the scrutiny that will subject this government to only because we want them to succeed. And they should take it in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gonglo.
Well, Dennis, I will just have a short prayer also for Ambassador Boaka since we want people to pray for him. I'm actually praying that God should actually make Joseph Boaka to live 120 years.
Woo!
Actually complete his 6th year because the Liberians voted for Joseph Boaka and not anyone else. So he should stay there to govern so that in 2029 we'll run the election on his achievement or lack of achievement and not excuse that, oh, this person was not there. So I'm praying for Boaka to live long and to be healthy and do it. But on the sourcing of it, here what I will say, the world has changed and it's changing. Social media, under President Weah, some of the things he did or he didn't do, he didn't have control over the social media. Henry Costa sat right here in the United States and shut down the Calde Hospital, okay, just by going on the social media. And I think we should watch out for that. It's a new platform.
Thank you. Thank you, Calebo. Thank you. Morris already going.
I haven't said anything. I just, that gave me on a prayer, made me just laugh. And then say, okay, I'm done. Nothing to say. But Dennis, thank you for the show, man. It's been great. This is the last Friday of the year. And I'm wishing all of you and your family, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. And we pray that the new year bring prosperity to our individual selves and our country. And we pray that our system improve for every Liberian, regardless of where they come from. We are Liberians before we are partisans. So we must always think about our country first before we think about our political affiliations. I appreciate the time. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for hanging there with us for the entire year, 365 days, and making Focus on Liberia the best since 1847. This is the only public, how do I say it? The PBS, public broadcasting place. That's what we intend to be, right? Because the partisan media, the commercial media, just like we see here, commercial MSNBC, commercial CNN, commercial Fox, they will burn down the country of Liberia if these commercials. So support their public broadcasting like here, that we are independent, we don't take sides, and we wanted to remain that way. And we want to thank all of you for your support. And by the grace of God, Focus on Liberia is doing everything possible to have a radio station in Monrovia by the middle of next year that will cover from Cape Mount to Cape Palmas. And so we'll be reaching out to all of you to make this happen because it is very much needed. Right now in Liberia, there is no radio station that have all the programming that we do here. It's all politics, and just talk. So to be able to have health, to be able to have literature, economic, business, finance, economics, history, and all that, support Focus on Liberia. And I'm very happy that all of you have been very supportive. Thanks again for tonight. I want to thank our viewers. Always focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. At this time, we close with a song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night, and God bless.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.